Welcome to the Mind Body Business Show. The 3 keys to your success is just moments away. Here's your host, Brian Kelly.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Mind Body Business Show. We have an amazing show for you tonight. I have an amazing guest. Her name is Alexis Haselberger. She is a productivity expert, and I love the fact that she's coming on because so many businesses require and need her services, mine included. The beautiful thing is what she does is enables you to be more productive and have less stress so you can live a more free life, an enjoyable life. And we all want that, don't we? Absolutely. There's no doubt. And I'm so excited to bring her on in a moment. But before I do that, real quick, the Mind Body Business Show. What is that all about? Well, in my now 55 years on this planet, well, coming up close to it, I began focusing on those people that were successful, particularly in the last decade or so. And I started learning what made them successful. You know, what were the intangibles that made them successful? How did they act? What did they do every day on a daily basis? And I learned and found out that it primarily fell into 3 different areas, 3 primary areas that I like to call the 3 pillars of success. And that would be, of course, you guessed it, mind, body, and business. Mind, that's mindset. Mindset, which means a rock solid, empowered, powerful mindset, flexible in all situations. And that we're talking at the subconscious level, and that's a whole topic in its own right. And then there's body. Body is about taking care of yourself on the outside and the inside. So it's about exercise and it's about proper nutrition. And when I say exercise, it doesn't mean you have to become a champion bodybuilder as a male or a supermodel as a woman at all. It just means move. It means move and exercise on a regular basis. And then when you're eating and drinking, to ingest those things that are going to serve you better. And we all know if we're doing that properly or not. And I am not casting judgment on anybody, believe me. But this is what I've noticed of successful people. And then there's business. Now, business is multifaceted. There are many things in business that you must learn the skill sets in order to operate at a peak level of performance in it. And those are things like sales, marketing, team building, systematizing, leadership skills. The list goes on and on. And the thing is, if you master just one of these 3 areas, just one, you will see a profound improvement in your professional life and your personal life. And so if you've not mastered any of the 3, I highly recommend you start with mindset. And then also at the same time, there's no excuse not to go into body at the same time. And we might discuss each of those areas tonight. We may not. It's kind of an organic show. Often we can go into business. We will see, but past shows, we have covered it all. And all you have to do is look back at the mindbodybusinessshow.com and look at the past shows, pull down and watch those shows because the value has been immense from people just like the one you're about to meet, Alexis Haselberger. I can't wait to bring her on. I promise she's coming on very soon. And so with that, one of the things with successful people that I also noticed was that they are voracious readers. And it hit me right between the forehead, or right between the eyes on the forehead at one moment because I had not read anything. I mean, my entire life I didn't read unless I was told I had to. And finally I realized I should be, and I began reading about a decade ago, voraciously. And I listened to Audible a lot. And so with that, I like to segue into a segment I like to call appropriately bookmarks.
Bookmarks. Born to read. Bookmarks. Ready, steady, read. Bookmarks. Brought to you by ReachYourPeakLibrary.com.
Yes, ReachYourPeakLibrary.com. You see it to the side of me. And by the way, real quick note, if you're watching this, it doesn't matter if you're watching it live or recorded or listening to it, be sure to get out a pad of paper and a pen and take notes. Instead of going to another tab on your browser or jumping onto a computer if you're watching on your phone and going to the websites and resources that we mentioned during the show. And here's the reason why. And this goes back to the early days of seminars and boot camps, because the magic happens in the room. And I would really hate for you to miss any single word that Alexis has coming up very soon, because it may be that one tidbit of information that could literally transform your life. And I'm not kidding at all here, because I've seen it happen where people would literally leave a room, come back and go, oh my gosh, what did I just miss? It's like, sorry, it's over with. So don't leave the room. Stay with us, take notes, and stay with us. Sound good? ReachYourPeakLibrary.com. What is that? It is a website I literally put together with you in mind. You, the entrepreneur, the business person, the one that's trying to improve in their business. Because as entrepreneurs, we never stop trying to improve our business, no matter what level we are at today. Either if we're just starting or we're already super successful. Entrepreneurs have it in their blood to continue to strive to improve. And so what I've done is I put together a list of books that I personally have read. And so they are vetted by at least one successful person. So you can at least go to a library, quote unquote, of books that you know or have a very good idea will not be a waste of your time. Because not every book I've ever read is on this list, obviously. Only those that had impact on me either through business or personal or both. A long list. I loved all these books as I see them scrolling up and down. And so that's my point there. It's real short and brief. It's you see it on the screen. The number one reason for lack of success is not simply a lack of reading books, but it's also the lack of reading the right books. So be sure you pick the right ones that will nurture your mind, help your skill set, and also propel you into a much more firm and fit body to go with all that. Sound good? Speaking of success, I think it's time we bring on our very special guest expert. Shall we do that? Yeah, let's do that right now.
It's time for the Guest Expert Spotlight. Savvy, skillful, professional, adept, trained, big league, qualified.
And there she is, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Alexis Haselberger. Yes. I'm so excited, so happy that you have agreed to come on the show, Alexis. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Fantastic.
You here?
Fantastic. Hey, right before I jump in and formally introduce you, I want to remind our viewers and our listeners, mostly our viewers who are here watching live, that stay on to the end and you'll learn how you can win a 5-night stay, there's the 5, at a 5-star luxury resort in Mexico, compliments of our good friends at powertexting.com. Write that one down as well. And that will be at the end of the show. We do this every single show. We give away one free vacation stay every single time. I kid you not. And I promise you, it is not a lure to get you to sit down and watch a 4-hour or 8-hour timeshare pitch. None of that happens. It is a legitimate, wonderful vacation stay. With that, let's bring on our guest. Alexis Haselberger is a time management and productivity coach with a background running HR and ops in startups. Through her coaching and consulting practice, Alexis helps people with big jobs, big lives, or both to do more, to stress less, and to create the balance that's right for them. I love that intro. I love that bio. I love that it's so short because we can get into really learning about you, Alexis. And on that note, what I like to do is when I open the show each and every time is dig deeper and find out more about what makes you, someone like you that's very successful, what makes you tick. And so others can relate, you will be relatable to them, and they can go, my gosh, I can do that. So for you, Alexis, and this is very personal for each person, because it's unique to each person, not because it's something that we're trying to hide, but it's just unique. When you get up in the morning, like if you're anything like me, I'm a little groggy when I get up, or a lot. And your body swings around, your feet hit the floor, you're starting to come to, and the realization starts to come. You're regaining consciousness, so to speak, and you're like, wow, okay, here comes the day. The drive starts kicking in, the motivation starts kicking in. For you, what are those things that start kicking in that really get you motivated to not just start the day, but to sustain you throughout the day and each week that you go at it?
Yeah, so this is a great question. I think very first thing that comes to mind is just my kids, right? Why are we doing this all? For me, for my family, for my kids, to have a life that I want. And then what motivates me, what sustains me is really the two things, right? Part of it is about me, right? That I want to be living a life where I'm using my own time in service of my own goals and values. And the other side of it is that I get excited to talk to my clients to help them do the same. And that's, I started this business because I found that, I, for whatever reason, was able to not burn out. I was able to be productive in my jobs, to get things done, to not work crazy hours, to not be super stressed. And I started to think about all the reasons and all the techniques that I was using. And I saw that there was a way for me to show other people that they could also have that they could accomplish what they wanted to accomplish, but also have a life at the end of the day. And so that's what really keeps me going, is sort of spreading that gospel to as many people as I can.
And that's what I love about you and other entrepreneurs I've had on the show, is it's always about other people. That the drive is very rarely about oneself. When it gets down to it, it is, because when you help other people, that's gratifying to you as a person. But the focus is on helping others and helping them to understand and recognize they don't have to have a stress-filled life, because there are techniques, there are skills that that you have imparted upon your clients that help them get past that. I mean, who doesn't want that? I mean, if there is somebody out there that doesn't want that, show me who that is. No, I don't want to know who that is. I don't want anything to know about it. So that's fantastic, and I'm appreciative of what you do, because I have had a similar coach that did something in my mind that was similar to what you do. I don't know all the details of what you do yet, but it sounds very similar, as we were talking off camera before we started. And I just love what you do because of the result it had for me. It's like, what a service that you provide, because it is liberating. That's the best word I can come up with. It's liberating. It's like, wait a minute. I used to work my absolute ever-living butt off for 8, 9, 10, 12 hours and get very little done. And now I can get it done in 4, 5, because I changed a few habits, and because someone on the outside could look in and tell me, oh, all you have to do is make these little adjustments. And they weren't big ones. And I'm like, wow. And I got to enjoy time with my wife, more time, one-on-one. The phone was shut off when we're at dinner. It was awesome. So I love what you do and the service you provide for others. I can just imagine how happy so many people have been by employing your services, and how many more will be as a result of your getting out in front of them, as far like this show, helping to market you. And that would be a phenomenal gift for everyone to enable them to, get to know you. Now, in the beginning of the show, you mentioned the importance of reading. And I can only imagine, because of your success, that you're probably also a good reader. And I was just curious, what would you say is your favorite, like your go-to book, that if you were to say to anybody just starting out, or maybe just one that just had a huge impact on you, it doesn't even have to be business related, but it really helped you in the personal sphere or the business sphere, that you would say, this would be the book I would start with because it really had an impact on me?
So this is going to be a completely off-the-wall answer to this.
All right.
But I think it would be The Stranger by Albert Camus. This is the book that's had the biggest effect on me when I was in high school, and I think, just kind of how our musical taste doesn't change. I think our what affects us when we're younger also still affects us going forward. And the reason I say this is that, I also studied existentialism in college, and existentialism is what some people find to be an incredibly depressing viewpoint on the world. But I actually think that it's the most hopeful sort of viewpoint that there is, because it's saying that we make our own meaning, and we get to decide how the life we live impacts us and those around us. And so anything that comes from that sort of existential mindset is something that is really powerful for me. And if you haven't read it, I think it's an interesting book, no matter what you get out of it.
I love it. I'm going to have to look that up. I have not heard of that one. The Stranger. Fantastic. Yeah, and often as soon as I get off the show, like when we're done here, I'll go on my phone to Audible directly and download that book, whatever I get from a previous guest. And that's actually gone quite well. There's one, The Biology of... I have to remember what it is. It's an amazing book. The Biology of Life, Biology of Self, I forget. It's a really great book. It's so great I can't remember the title, right? That there, there's certain books, as I read them, some can actually surpass ones I've read in the past, and that's what happened with that one. It was like, wow, this one's amazing. And it's in a completely different space too. It's not direct, it's not business, it's not personal development, it's just understanding of one's body and how it works at a cellular level, and it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, you're right about that too, right? It's that, I don't read that many business books, but I read a lot. I read 4 books last week. But not that many of them are business books, because I think you can grasp things related to your business or anything else from any context.
Absolutely. They definitely can complement and help and assist you in going forward, because business is a relationship. It's a relationship. People like to separate business from personal lives, right? They're really very similar, because you're not going to have a transaction unless you make a personal connection, most often, unless you're a very avid internet marketer. But one of the most prolific internet marketers I know personally today, Tom Antion, he has a very strong personal touch connection as part of his model of his business. Even though it's an automated business, internet marketing, he is very big on personal outreach and touch, and incredible with support. So I think when it comes down to it, it's all about personal relationships, the human beings, how we operate, how can we effectively communicate with each other. Very important, hugely important when it comes to business and sales and marketing, for sure. So amazing. Now, I can only venture to guess, you look pretty darn fit to me. How important would you say, we're talking about the mind, now we're going to the body. How important would you say physical fitness is to you, and why would it be important to you?
Yeah, so I would say it wasn't always as important to me, but now for the last 8 years or so, I've been running 4 to 5 times a week. So it is pretty important to me now. And I think the reason that it's important to me, one, I think, sometimes you have your best thoughts when you're out there, just not thinking about anything else. Also, it's important for me to be healthy and strong so that I can live a long time and that I'm here for my kids. And so it's not as much about looking a certain way as it is about actually having the stamina to keep going and feel good and be able to walk a lot and, not be out of breath at any time and things like that. So I think it's really important. And I know that a lot of people get a lot of mental health benefits from it as well. I'm one of those rare people who does not get any endorphins from running, yet I still do it.
I don't think you're alone in that genre, because running can be not fun for a lot of people. And endorphins, I normally would notice that happening when doing strength or resistance training, where you're lifting weights, either physical weights or your own body weight, where you're actually really contracting your own muscles. That's when I feel the biggest, endorphin rush. I used to be in the fitness industry as a personal trainer, and you said it perfectly. You just said it perfectly. You talked about a couple of things. One was having a clearer mind, so you're kind of out by yourself, so it's in a way therapeutic. It's just you and yourself and your thoughts and your body moving. And then being around longer, right? And being more, what did you say, productive or cognitive. You can concentrate better, all that. And the thing that you did say that was the most powerful, for anyone to have a reason to do exercise, is not about looking good. That is not her number one reason. It's not even on the top. So Alexis gets it. That is exact. So most people, especially guys, being one, I know, they're out there to look, they're out there to beef up and look great and have a six pack and, attract the women. And the thing is that if you go in with that as your primary objective, it is so much harder to finish the race. And that is because it takes a long time to sculpt a body, a long time. It depends on the workout regimen, the nutrition. If it didn't take a long time, there would be everywhere you look, there'd be a bodybuilder walking down the street. It takes a lot of effort and time. When you have the right mindset, as Alexis does, toward nutrition, toward the body, that's when you get the results that are going to catapult you, not only in your business life, but in your personal life, because now her mind is clear. She's got, the stress is gone. She's talking about productivity and reducing stress that way. Well, she's doing it already to prime herself to help you to go farther to reduce stress when she works with you after she's done running. So it's an amazing, great, man, I almost did a backflip of joy right there when you said not about looking good, because most of the people do it to look good. Oh, I'm getting a little, do I look fat in this dress? Or guys are saying, man, I can't see my belt anymore, and stuff like that. While those things are good to to get healthier, it's just harder to sustain if that's your primary reason. That's what I found in my years of doing personal training and fitness. So that you hit the nail on the head on that one. That's fantastic. And so you've been doing this. You've been doing this productivity coach training for some time now, for over a year, 2 years?
Yeah, I started this business in January of 2018. So
Okay.
I feel like I'm doing this kind of work for 20 years, but I've been doing it on my own.
Gotcha.
Specifically for about a year and a half, a little bit more. Yeah.
Okay. So what was it? So whatever you did before, you're working with startups and that, and human resources. I can only imagine what that was like. But I'm sure you learned a lot, and that helped catapult you. What was the thing that ignited the spark in you to do this, to branch out, to start your own business and do it on your own? What was that?
Yeah, so I was always working, I work with startups. Startups are just full of way too much to do and not enough people to do it. And so you've got people kind of burning the candle at both ends, burning out, always trying to get as much done as we possibly can, but not really understanding that we need breaks. It actually doesn't help us to work 12 hours a day. Nobody is concentrating for 12 hours a day. You're maybe getting 6 hours in there. And so while I was doing ops work and HR work, I became kind of the go-to person for productivity and for systems implementation, always trying to make things sort of easier, more streamlined, so that we have to do less hard work, right? So that we can have more time for ourselves. And so, I became really good at that, and I started getting a lot of positive feedback in those realms. And when the last startup that I worked for, when we decided to shut that one down, I realized that not only was the productivity and time management stuff the most fun for me, because I'm a huge geek about all this stuff, and not only was I good at it, but I started to kind of pull from all sorts of different traditions about different techniques, etc. But also, it was the most impactful thing that I've been doing for other people. I was getting a lot of feedback from them that what I had done for them really helped them. And so that's when I kind of decided, I don't really think I want to spend my time anymore working towards somebody else's goals. I think I want to spend my time working towards my goals. And my goal was to bring that same kind of piece of being able to accomplish what you want, being able to spend more time on the things you want to do, less time on the things you don't want to do, and decrease stress, and bring that to more people, so that more people can experience the kind of life that they want, instead of this kind of stressed out rat race that a lot of people are living in.
Fantastic. And was there any trepidation, fear, doubt going into this? I'm going to do this on my own.
Yeah, of course, right? Like, I would have to be lying if I said no, right? But I think what I did is I gave myself a deadline of, I have to be making some money by X date. And if I can prove to myself that I can do that, then I can go out and do this. I also talked to a lot of entrepreneur friends who told me things like, look, you got to give it 3 years. You really know whether you have something or not. So I don't know if that's true. I feel like I'm doing pretty well a year and a half in, so fingers crossed. But yeah, of course there was trepidation, but I also really believed in what I was doing and the techniques that I was doing, and I knew that I had helped people in the past.
Yeah.
I knew that it was just a matter of me beefing up like my sales skills and marketing skills and things I didn't really have before, and getting into an uncomfortable zone of putting yourself out there, because I think that's the key, right? You can sit around all day like making your website nice. You don't get out there and make yourself uncomfortable by emailing all those people you haven't talked to from high school and tell them in a new business. You're not gonna have people know about you. And how do you get clients? Is because people know about you. They know you exist, right?
Exactly. Wow, so many golden nuggets there. I hope everyone's taking notes. My goodness. I love the fact that you were given the advice to give it 3 years. I'm glad that was the advice you were given. It may take longer, Sometimes it's 5 to 10. Depends on the types of mentoring and coaching you end up getting, and then how much passion and drive you personally have. And you have the latter for sure. There's no doubt about that. And you're already on your way, so it's fantastic. It's a wonderful ride. You'll grow and learn and change over time. That's a beautiful thing. You also talked about getting out of your comfort zone, which is paramount. So it sounds like you've gotten some coaching somewhere, whether through books or through people, because that is a key. That is one of the keys to always going farther in your business, to growing, is to get out of your comfort zone on a regular basis, not just once here and there, but continually, because it's like a ship in the water. If you don't move, if you're not moving and you're a sail ship, well, can you change the direction that you're traveling if it's not moving in the water? No, the oar's in the water, but there's nothing moving around it to make it turn. The only way you can turn and correct course is if you are moving. So take that step, go out and get uncomfortable, and you might start off pointing in the wrong direction, but because you are moving, you can actually steer it and change the direction and keep refining where you aim that ship until you start aiming right down the middle of where you know it should be. The other thing you said that's really important for people to understand is you didn't just come up with an idea and then go, I love this idea because I came up with it, I'm going to go make a business out of it. Instead, you had something that has already shown and proven to be effective, and more importantly, the market, i.e. the people telling you about it, told you they wanted it, right? So many people want to, we all have great ideas, every one of us, every human on the planet, and, we think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then we put it out in the market and we hear crickets. It's because we need to find out if the market is open to it, if they're ready for it, if our messaging is proper to bring them in to get interested in it. If it's a proven market and it's something, if you're doing something that people want, then you're way ahead of the game. And so many people just throw these things out there. I'm going to do this new app. What does it do? Oh, it does X, Y, Z. So does anybody say they'd like it? Oh, my buddy thinks it's a great idea. It's like, would he buy it? Oh, I don't know about that. You got to test the market first, and you've done that. So kudos to you. Fantastic. You're on a great path already. And I know that, being an entrepreneur, solopreneur, that, it's real easy, right? Everything's easy. It takes no effort, piece of cake. It's all just autopilot, right?
Yeah, super easy.
So if you were to quantify it, if you were to write down, and if you were to think back, how many hours a day, and maybe I should rephrase that, how many hours a day and night, maybe, do you work on your business right now?
So I know the exact answer to this because I track my time for, a couple months of every year just to see how I'm doing on things. So I last tracked a couple of months ago, and I was working about 35 hours a week, actually.
Wow, not bad.
No, not bad. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't some days where, I'm putting in 14 hours because I got a big deadline or a big workshop I'm doing for a company and I need to build out that deck. But on the whole, I'm really not working more than a 40-hour week.
It's almost like you're like a product of the product or something, huh?
Kinda, right? I mean, I don't teach anybody anything I don't do myself. It doesn't work for me.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. And please, everyone listening, write that down. How many, goodness sakes, I can count. I can think of so many. One in particular that looked me in the eye. I remember this one person. I'm not going to name any names or anything or give it away, but because I'm not here to tear people down, but just for an example. One person I thought highly of, really highly of, and that person just finished a segment on stage talking about different incredible things. And I remember at one point I was able to have a chat with this individual, and I said, hey, that one thing that you talked about at this time, and I'm not going to talk about the details of it. I said, so tell me, how exactly do you go about doing that? And the response was, oh, me? Well, I don't actually do that. I just think it's good for other people and they should do it. I'm like, are you kidding me? And that was the beginning of the end of my praising and following this individual, because right away there was a disconnect, a value disconnect between he and I. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is not right. Thank you for saying that you are a product of the product. You practice what you preach. And I hope everyone listening, if you haven't started, start that way. If you have started and you're not doing that, stop what you're doing and do it with integrity. And only promote and teach those things you yourself either are doing now or you have successfully done in the past, because you can't be doing absolutely everything at the same time every single day, right? Or it could be someone very near and dear to you that you know with every fiber in your being that they use that technique successfully as well. But beyond that, I would say don't even promote it if you're not a product of the product. So thank you. I love this.
And it's actually a really good point you bring up too about other people, because in productivity, not everything that works for me is going to work for you, and not everything that works for one of my clients is going to work for me. But I definitely never tell anyone to try something that I don't know for a fact has worked for people, or someone out there, right?
That's great. Yeah, and that's true. Different people have different responses to different stimulus going through, and that has a big part to do with their personalities. And that could take us down a whole nother path, and I could talk all night, and this is about you, not me. So you are a family woman.
Yes.
You have two amazing young men in your life, and then a third who's, well, he's a young man, I'm sure, too, but he's your husband. How has, so you made this shift almost 2 years ago. It's a year and a half plus. How is being an entrepreneur, making that shift, how has that had an impact on your family, on your personal life, if it has at all?
Yeah, I think actually I am working a little bit more than I used to, because for a long time I worked 30 hours a week working at startups. So I am working a little bit more. But I think what has been really nice about it is that I've had the ability to show my kids what it looks like to build something. And my husband has a startup too, so he shows them that also. But it's nice to be able to show your kids that there are other paths, right? They've seen us working for other people. They've also seen us working for ourselves. And so they have additional models of what a successful life can look like and what kind of work it takes to make it happen.
Oh, so they're learning great life lessons by nothing more than your example, which is phenomenal. My gosh, I think we were separated at birth. I think you're my sister by another mister, because we have so many things in common. It's amazing. I came up and cut my teeth in the corporate world as well, and didn't know about this wonderful world of entrepreneurship. I just thought there was something wrong with me, because I hated working for anyone else. I hated doing things that I was being told to do, no matter what it was. Then I really hated being told when to do them and when they were due. Then I even more hated when they would tell me how to do them. I'm like, come on, I'm not a robot. And so then I learned about this thing, and my eyes were opened about entrepreneurship, and have been going gangbusters since. And the same exact thought process went through my mind, Alexis, which was, now my kids have the ability to understand there is more to their choices. And whichever way they choose, I am perfectly fine with. I just want them to know there is this other world out there. And for me, it's an amazing, glorious world. For them, it may not be. And that's okay, but at least they know. I didn't even know. My eyes were shut. I didn't know. And that's not a fault of my parents. They only knew what they knew. They loved us. They did everything they could. So thank you for bringing that up, because some would say, well, I have less time to be with my family and go through the negative. And you went straight to, well, actually, this is helping my kids. It's like phenomenal. I love it.
So, right? Like, I wouldn't be doing something I felt was doing the opposite. So.
Yeah, and that could be different for different people. Others, have the best intention, and they say, well, for a little bit, I'll allow it, knowing that I'm going to give it this much time until it succeeds. But going in that way right away, it's obvious now to me and probably everyone listening that you knew, you loved what you were about to go into, and that you knew and you had a very good confidence that you were going to succeed at it very quickly. And that's, again, because you had already tested the marketplace. Whether you meant to or not, you already had done that. And that's a beautiful thing. You are one of a rare individual in the entrepreneur space, and a phenomenal, this is a blessing for you to have that already going in. So, and then what you do, I just love the fact, talk about something that is serving in nature. I can't think of many things that aren't as serving in nature as what you do, because I've experienced it. Have I not experienced it, I wouldn't know what I'm talking about right now. But I do, and it's a game changer. I think we were talking off camera, and I was talking about how I'd work my butt off for hours and hours and hours, like 10, 15, 12 hours a day, and then got a productivity coach like you. And then when I was done, I was getting everything done in 4 hours, and I had the rest of the day to be with my wife and my kids. I'm like, this is amazing. Or I could spend that extra time working more, but he was smart and said, don't, stop.
Set your boundaries, right? And I think, what you said too about people who go into entrepreneurship and think like, well, I'm going to do this for a while. You're setting your boundaries from the get-go, right? And if you don't set them then, you're not going to somehow pull back later.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I mean, that's exactly very down the same path that my coach told me. Was he basically looked at he said, what do you do every day? And he wrote it all down. He goes, okay, next talk I'm going to help you with. And he was blown away. He's like, I've never seen anybody work as much as you do, Brian. You're crazy. He didn't say you're crazy. He just said, I've never met anyone in my life that puts so much into every day that you do. And I didn't know if that was a good thing or not, when he said that. But what I want to ask you, I'm very curious, now that you are going through, you have clients that you're helping, you've done it before in the corporate world. What are you finding? Are there any common things that are keeping your clients from, before they meet you, from being as productive as they can be? Are you noticing any kind of pattern developing, or are they all different and unique?
I mean, yes and yes, right? I think there are clearly thematic things going on right now, right? I think a huge thing that many people are dealing with when I start working with people, and I will say that most of my clients are very successful people. They are, engineers, doctors, lawyers, working parents of any stripe. They're people who have had success, right? So they're people who are, by all means, are productive, but maybe they're a little too stressed out, or they're working too many hours, etc. One thing I find pretty commonly is that people are trying to use their memory to do all the stuff, right? They're not using an external system. They're not using a task app, maybe not even a to-do list. They're trying to keep it all in their head. And it is really hard for us to prioritize and to even see what we're getting to and what we're not getting to when it's in our head. I think that's a big one. And then there's some external things that I feel that most people are dealing with. And one of them, at least for people who are in management roles, is too many meetings. And not only too many meetings, but meetings that aren't serving them, that aren't of value, that they're just showing up at for FaceTime because they're expected to be there. And then also just the onslaught of email and messaging and all of the notifications and the pings and all of that stuff that kind of plagues us all day long. One of my favorite but also most horrifying statistics is that a study showed a few years ago that when we get interrupted, when we get distracted from something, so whether that's the ping going off on our phone, or even when we just interrupt ourselves by going to check our email when we're in the middle of writing a document, it takes us on average 23 minutes, not seconds, 23 minutes to regain focus on what we were doing. And so if you think about how many times a day we're interrupted or distracted, and we do that math, you can see why people feel like they're going all day long, and yet they get to the end of the day and nothing's crossed off the list.
Ouch. 23 minutes. That does actually ring true with me. I was thinking about that when you said it. It does. It knocks you for a loop, especially if you're deeply into something that requires a rhythm to continue to then complete. Oh my gosh, so much of what I do is technical. This hits me personally like perfectly. I'll be in the middle of updating one of my automations, and some of them can be complex. I'm in the middle, and then I get a notification, or I left my email open, and I see it out of the corner of my eye, and then I go off to it, and then I look down, like, oh my God, I just lost an hour. What happened?
Right. Or when you go on your phone to check something, and somehow it's been an hour, and you didn't even check the thing you meant to check, but you're completely up to date on Facebook or Reddit or.
So true. And so, do you? I don't know if you do. Do you recommend any kind of tools or anything that can help people with those types of interruptions? Like maybe set aside certain times during the day to say this is the way you shut all that off, and then you focus, and then you're okay and you're approved to turn them back on after. Do you do something like that?
So I tell everybody, turn off all of the notifications, all of them. The ones on your desktop, the ones on your phone, for email, for Slack, all of them. Turn them all off. because, and it's not that you can check your email every 15 minutes if you want to, but you want to be making the decision. You want to be checking email, social media, whatever it is that you're checking that you're getting notifications for. You want to be doing that on your own schedule instead of because somebody else decided to send you a message. Because they're not thinking when they send you that message about you and your workflow, right? They're just getting it out there. And so, in an ideal world, I think checking and processing email maybe 2 to 3 times a day is great, and processing it down to 0 every time you go in there. That's something that I help a lot of my clients get to. But it's something that, takes work, right? A lot of the stuff that I teach is simple, but it's not easy, right? Everything takes work to get there. But turning off those notifications so that you can take back control of the technology instead of it controlling you, I think is a really important first step.
Yeah, I think that's sound advice as well. I got an interesting thought, a question to ask you. I'm sure, I would imagine it's come across once before, at least. So I'm looking to become more productive and get more time in my day, Alexis. So wait a minute, you're telling me I have to now spend more time with you, time that I don't have in my day, to free up more time? How is that going to work, right?
You're right. A lot of people who come to me say, wait, but I don't even have time for this, right? Like, I need this, but I don't have time for it.
Yeah.
And the thing that I can always assure everyone is that the time that they spend with is they're going to get that back in space.
There
right?
you go.
There's a stat out there, I think, that says that for every 1 minute of planning, you save 10 minutes in execution. And I think that really, that has so many through lines to, all sorts of areas of our life, right? So it's not just about planning our days. It's also about planning what we're going to spend time on. It's about learning the techniques that are going to help us to gain hours back later. And sometimes, like a lot of things, it gets messier before it gets cleaner, right? It feel hard for the 4 months or so that someone may be in my program working with me. But by the end of it, the thing that almost every single person says is, I feel in control, which is a huge, maybe they're not even working less hours. Hopefully they are, but maybe they're not. But they all say, I feel in control now.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It's kind of like, I think about, what if you're remodeling a kitchen? You're going to improve the kitchen, but to do that, you need to tear a lot of things down and make a big mess. Not saying that you're making a mess with these clients, but you have to kind of go backward before you can go forward. And the beautiful thing is when you're done, though, you look back and go, man, the whole thing was worth it, because now I have this incredible smart kitchen now with all these automations, and I get more done in my kitchen than I used to. I just thought of that metaphor. That was pretty fun. But I think it sounds similar to something like that. And I get it because I've been through the process. It's like, you might have to take them through some uncomfortable situations, because what you're doing is you're changing their habits. You're recommending they change their life because they're changing their habits. And many people are like, I don't want to do that. But all you need to do is understand and recognize that Alexis gets you the results you're after. So whatever it takes to get to those results, all you need to do is say, yes, how do I do that? Where do I start? Show me the way.
Right. And we experiment. We try a lot of things. Not everything works, right? And habits, you talk about habits, which is really important. Habits take time. You're not going to overnight say, oh, I'm going to just change this behavior, and then the next day that behavior has changed. Like, we all know that I wouldn't have a job, you wouldn't have a job, no personal trainer would have a job if it worked like that, right? And so it takes work. You have to be committed to it, but what you get out of it at the end is so valuable, because it lasts for the rest of your life, the habit change.
So there you have it, a service that is provided that lasts your entire life, not just, you have to keep coming to me and paying me for months on end. And you can, if you want, if you need to have the, we could go off track on occasion. And the beautiful thing is there's someone there like Alexis, who is our coach, to catch us if we're falling and say, okay, I'll help you get back on the track. And so, but the beautiful thing is, you're going to set them on the right path. They won't need your services forever afterward, but they know that you're there in case they do. And that's an amazing thing, to have that comfort zone, to know that they can come back and if they do get off track at that time. So you have gone through both sides. You've worked for someone else, and now for almost 2 years you have been an entrepreneur. what do you feel now that you've been through this experience is the major difference between being an entrepreneur and those who work for someone else? What is that to you? What's the difference?
So I think, I think I would say this way. I used to say I would never be an entrepreneur because I didn't have the tolerance for it, right? I'm a very risk averse person. And I actually still think that like the primary thing that divides people who want to start a business from people who don't is that level of risk tolerance. I think you have to be willing to know that it might not work out. You certainly hope it will, and you're going to do everything you can in your power to make it work. But there is that level of risk tolerance that you do have to have. And I don't know what shifted in me to make me a little bit more able to see the value in that risk. But I do think risk tolerance is a big one. And then the other one I think is optimism. I mean, I think you have to, of every entrepreneur I've ever worked with, in business or in consulting or anything else, and including myself, you have to believe in what you're doing and believe it's going to make a difference and believe it's going to succeed. There's no room for pessimism, I don't think, in running a business for yourself. Because if you don't, the person whose baby this business is, if you don't believe in your heart of hearts that it's going to work, it's not. And so I think it's that level of optimism where, when you're working for someone else, you have a lot of thoughts. A lot of times you're not feeling great about the company you're working for, people you're working with, or, it's just not a super optimistic environment all the time. But I think in business for yourself, you have to have that optimism.
That's absolutely true, and that's one of the things that was like a big, massive, loving magnet that sucked me into entrepreneurship was as I went to seminars and networking events, and I went through the doors, and I looked around and talked to people. I'm like, my gosh, you guys are different. You're always like can do versus can't do in the corporate world, which I was so familiar with. It was like, oh, but we've always done it that way, in the corporate world, so there's no way we're going to change that. I'm like, why not? And then you go to an entrepreneur event, and it's the exact opposite. In fact, one of the most positive people I ever met on the planet is watching us right now on Instagram, Jason Nast, who is the founder of Power Texting, our sponsor, powertexting.com. And I kid you not, he was one of the first guys I met as I began my walk in entrepreneurship many years ago. And I told him this. I said, you're the most positive person I think I've ever met. I can't think of anyone else I've ever met that's more positive than you. And then that really rubbed off on me. And it took time, but I became that positive person. I don't know if I'm as positive as he is to this day, but I'm way more than I used to be. And you're right, optimism is key, and belief, like you say, belief in what you're doing is going to work, and that you're in it. You're in it, I'm all in it. And then risk, that's inherent to entrepreneurship. Risk is inherent to it. Entrepreneurs take risks, and God bless us entrepreneurs for taking risks, because without those, there would be no businesses for employees to work at, period. End of story. So it does take a different mentality, a different view on life, and it takes some getting out of a comfort zone, doesn't it, Alexis? Because when you're not used to doing that, and if you're corporate, you're used to being told what to do, when to do, and how to do it. You don't have to worry about it, and you're rarely optimistic, are you? Because everyone's at the water cooler complaining about their day, that they're not getting paid enough, and that they're going to another meeting that's wasting their life. So I agree with you on the meetings too, by the way, big time. My goodness. So given all that, if you were to think of one thing about being an entrepreneur that you love the most, what is your absolute favorite thing about being an entrepreneur, about making that switch and now doing it full time?
For me, the absolute best thing is that I only do things I want to do. I don't, nobody's there telling me I have to do something. I don't have a lot of great jobs. I work for a lot of great people. But at the end of the day, I was not always doing things that I wanted to do. I was doing things that sometimes, I didn't even think were the best things to do, right? Because I had different ideas. But when you're not the boss, you don't always get to make those decisions. And I worked a lot of great places where I did have a lot of agency, but there's a huge difference between getting up on Monday morning and knowing that all the things that you're about to do are things that you decided to do yourself versus coming in on a Monday morning and knowing that most of the things are going to be serving other people's purposes.
Oh yeah, definitely big time on that one. And the commute is a bit better, isn't it?
It is. I was lucky enough to work from home for the last 6 years before I opened my business.
Ah, that's nice.
I got used to this commute, I'll say.
And that's interesting. You bring up the fact that you get to do what you want to do when you want to do it, and that's always a huge attraction factor to those who are looking at branching on their own. And I remember this so vividly. I used to go to seminars and networking events like boot camps that were entrepreneur based, business based. I mean, a lot. I was a junkie in a good sense. And I just remember there were so many times I would develop a relationship with someone who would then be the primary speaker at the next one and said, "Hey man, you should come out." Like, okay, cool. When is it? It's on this date on this month. And I look it up and I go, "That's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, bro. I can't do that." It's like, why not? "Oh man, I have to say it. I work. I have a full-time job." "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." And they'd give you that look. I'm like, I don't like saying this anymore. I got to the point where I never said I had a corporate job. I didn't want anybody to know. It was like a blessing to have the money coming in, but it was a curse because I couldn't establish a deeper relationship with those I wanted to, because it was holding me back because they are doing things on days where, well, when normal people are working. And I missed so many opportunities. I remember Jason, who's on right now, he's still talking. He says, "Yay, we love you" on Instagram, and appreciate that, Jason. And I know on Instagram, if you're watching, the view is very different. It's very narrow. But at least you can hear us, and that's the important part for now. Fairly new technology on Instagram, live streaming. But it's so important to know that you have choice. I think that's the beautiful thing. And that's what I would watch these people and see the freedom they had by what they were saying, listening to them. "Yeah, tomorrow I'm going to head off to New York." And I'm like, "Wait, what? Tomorrow's Wednesday. How do you?" "Oh, yeah, you don't have to report to anybody." Back then I was just like, oh, I so envy what you do, not knowing what it took for them to get where they were at all. But at the time, just that's what I want. I want their Kool-Aid. I want what they're drinking. So I totally get that when you say to be optimistic. You have to be optimistic and go forward and be. Yeah, you could not succeed if you're pessimistic. It isn't going to work. It isn't going to work. That's mindset right there. So work on your mindset, and I did that. I actually utilized something called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. That's what I learned many years ago. I became certified in it. That is the one thing that transformed my life, and I don't say that about anything else. I'm not a dramatic person, but that helped me to right that negativity ship. And man, what a world it is when you have changed into that. It's an amazing world. I love it. As an entrepreneur, so you're going out, you're looking for clients. You're also, I would imagine, you're recognizing what works and what doesn't as you're going through, these sessions with your clients and taking note. How do you generate new ideas, like brand new ideas that just bubble up and say, "You know what, I can do this and enhance my business going forward, or maybe enhance my marketing"? How do you generate new ideas going forward?
So many ways. I mean, I think, as I mentioned before, I can't tell you the number of times I've been out on a run and had to stop for 10 seconds so I could write down an idea that I had, right? I think, I definitely make sure I have a couple of groups of other entrepreneurs, and I meet with them on a regular basis. And that sparks a lot of ideas. You hear about something somebody's doing that's worked, and you think, oh, I could try that and see if that'll work for me. Reading a lot of books. I read a lot, and I feel like I will often have a thought of like, oh, I'm reading a novel or something, but I'll still be like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I wonder how I could integrate that. So I think that ideas are all around us, and the important thing is that we actually collect them and keep track of them, and then have a way of dealing with it, right? So for me, I keep track of all of the ideas about things that I'm maybe not going to prioritize tomorrow, but that I think are a good idea and I might want to do at some time. And on a quarterly basis, I cull through all of that and decide what I'm actually going to implement the next quarter.
Oh, wow. And I'm sure I'm seeing the brilliance of you in the productivity coach, big time right here, because that's the key. Like you said in the beginning, that one of the biggest issues that most people have when it comes to lack of productivity is they are relying on their memory too much. And you just said it. I mean, literally, you're running and you're stopping to record and document the idea. Very important and very powerful tip. right there. Meeting with other entrepreneurs, that is a huge one. Some would call those masterminds, depends on how it's organized and how it's run. That is by far, that's one of the biggest, because it's great to have the input of others. Oh, it's so great to have the input of others. I kid you not, just the other day, I was talking to my good friend, as we speak of him, Jason Nast. We talk often, and he gave me some great ideas on ways to tweak this very show. And I did make those tweaks already because of someone else's vantage point, right? We can get so in our business that we can't see above and over and what others see to help improve, and to have other people come in. That's phenomenal. Let's see. I'm looking at my notes because, so if you're watching right now or listening, and you can see this, which you can't if you're listening on podcast, but I'm the host of the show and I'm taking notes. So what's your excuse if you're not? Fantastic. My goodness. Here's a cool one. Now, if you were the person, let's step back, and now Alexis is the host of the show, and you're now able to ask any question you wanted, and the person on the other side is also Alexis. What question would you ask of yourself? And then as the guest, Alexis, how would you then answer that question? How would you respond?
Yeah, so I guess the question that I would ask would be, what types of things or what things to date in your business did you do too late, right? Not maybe made a mistake on, but what did you wait too long to do? And, again, my business has only been open for a couple of years. So I, of course, I have many things that I should have done differently. But I think one of those things was I really tried to sort of perfect some language around reaching out to people, and kind of waited to reach out for a little bit longer than I maybe should have, maybe only a month or two. But I think, the sooner that you can tell people what you're doing and get yourself out there, so that people can even start making connections, like, oh, I know Alexis is doing productivity. Oh, I have this friend over here that said they were really stressed out. The more connections you can make more quickly, the more your network grows, the more people find out about you. And so I would say, over the past several months, I've done more and more of putting myself out there, and that just generates all these seeds that you have no idea which ones will grow. And so I would say I should have done that sooner.
And the good news, and so there's a couple things, there's some great takeaways from this. One is, I always say this, especially I did with my fitness clients. So let's say one of the exercises was something as simple as push-ups. And the program was calling for 10, do 10. And the client did it and could only do 4. And the thing is that they did those 4 and were trying with all their might to do number 5. And what does the client do, just like any of us would do, is they start mentally kicking themselves in the butt for not doing 10. And what I always say is I give you the right, I give you permission not to kick yourself in the butt, and rather pat yourself on the back for the reps you did do, right? And so you're learning as you're going and improving along the way, because the next time they built up a little bit more strength, they might do 5. The next time maybe 6. The next time they might fall back to 5. It's a little bit of an ebb and flow. But knowing it's okay. Just let it go and keep moving forward. And I love that, where you talked about you were trying to perfect your message, and this is a great message. I'm glad you brought that up. And it's not really procrastination. It's just there's an acronym, and it's misspelled. I know many of you will look at it and go, "That's wrong, Brian," but it's BEIGE, which means better is the enemy of good enough. Yep. And oftentimes, we as humans want to be perfect, and we spend more time trying to perfect something than just going and doing it. And that's called being an action taker. And you have become that. Now that you've gotten over that, and many people might still be hung up in what you are doing. That's why this is so great that you're sharing this, Alexis, because you're helping an untold number of people to know that they can break through it. And it's better to make more mistakes faster than it is to wait and try to perfect it and get it. You're never going to be right the first time. Let me say that again. You will never be right the first time. So get it over with, do it, and find out from real life experience, that is, the response you get, that tells you how to refine it, and do it again quickly. Do it again quickly. fail many times so you can succeed that one time much quicker than if you were to spend a month or two perfecting your message and then starting that process. And so that was valuable, very valuable. Thank you, Alexis. Fantastic. I've been through that. I mean, every entrepreneur who's started from the beginning has been through that very thing where we're trying to be too perfect out of the chute because we don't want to be wrong. We're human, right? I'm not going to be wrong. That's my ego. Come on.
And I think, honestly, some of it's a little bit about fear, right? It's like,
yeah,
I put this out, then it's real, right? But it's like you have to get over that fear and just get it out, because you're right, it's never going to be perfect.
Exactly.
And it's not going to become 100th time either.
You're right. In fact, it will never be perfect, will it? But will it be better? Absolutely. Very much, very possible. Maybe not every single change you make will make it better, but the trend line will be, yes, you'll get better. That's why we do it. It's called practice. And you just continually do it. Another thing is to get a coach or mentor. If you're writing, say if you're crafting a message that's a marketing message, you may want to look into someone who's very prolific at copywriting. And they know the right ways to assemble the language and the right steps and what to say first paragraph, second. That would be very beneficial. It saves you time. Delegate, outsource as much as you can, as soon as you can. I learned that the hard way myself as well. And now I have 5 people helping me in my team, and it's like a godsend. And I'm like, wow, how did I do this without them? And now you can do so much more. That's the point to that. You can scale. Fantastic. So I do have one final question I love to ask every one of my guests. And it's a wonderful question, and it can get a little deep, but it doesn't have to. And it's just interesting because every one of my past guests have answered this question, and I've always been very intrigued by the answers I've gotten. But before we do that, I would be remiss if I didn't remind everyone and give them how they can now enter to win that 5-night stay at that 5-star luxury resort in Mexico, compliments of powertexting.com. So just for a brief moment, you have our permission to pull out your phone so you can enter by doing what you see on the screen right now. And that is, first type in the phone number, 661-535-1624. And then down in that little message area where you would normally type your message to text your buddy, your spouse, your significant other, type in the word PEAK, P-E-A-K, P-E-A-K, and then tap that little symbol. It means send. That sends off the text. So go ahead, type in the number 661-535-1624, and then put in the word PEAK in the message area, P-E-A-K, and hit send, and you will be entered to win. We give away a vacation stay every single show. And again, this is sponsored by our wonderful friends at powertexting.com, Jason Nast and Rhonda. They do a phenomenal job. This is using their very system when you do this. When you text the word PEAK, you are using powertexting.com. So I highly recommend you check them out as well. All right, back to the woman of the hour. So to demystify this a little bit, Alexis, the thing is about this question, just so you're aware, there is absolutely no such thing as a wrong answer. It's impossible. There cannot be one. The reason is it's a personal question. It's not, again, digging into your personal life. It's something that is you'll have a personal response. It's unique to you, again. In fact, just the opposite is the truth, is the only correct answer is your answer because it's unique to you. So now that you can just shrug off any, like, okay, now I can relax. When I ask this question, you may get it. You may have the answer like right there. It may happen. I've seen both. Or it may, it's like, wow, I don't know. I need a second. Either way is fine. And so not only is there no wrong answer, there's no wrong way to answer the question, if that makes sense. All right. With all that, Alexis, are you ready for this question?
Yeah.
All right. Alexis Haselberger, how do you define success?
I think success for me is being sure at the end of the day that I spent my time in a way that is 100% in accordance with my own goals and my values. So making sure that what I'm doing, what I'm spending my time on, what I'm doing with, who I'm talking to, all of the things that are going on in my life, that I'm doing that in accordance with my goals and values. I think that's
And here's another wonderful observation. So here's a couple more, actually. One is no two people on this show yet. I'm sure it's going to happen, but no two people have answered it the exact same way. And still that is the case after yours. And then the second is none of them have made that thing, success. It's never been a focus on money. It's not just, when I get my first 2 mil, then I'll be successful. It's never that. It's always something more deep, more personal, because if you think about it, and many have, what does money do for us? It gets us the results we're looking for, which is freedom of time, freedom to do what we want when we want. But it's not money that's the success. It's what we do to get there. Like you were just saying, and yours is, the certainty at the end of the day, right? Certainty that you spent the day 100% congruent with your own values, that you've done everything in alignment with what you knew you wanted to accomplish. And that's awesome, because everyone's definition of success is different. And that's what I'm finding so mind-blowing. It's so great. I'm literally going to compile a book with these responses, and yours will be included. I'll reach out to make sure I have your permission before once we get some more in the queue. But thank you so much. What a phenomenal response. What a phenomenal evening. Thank you for coming on and spending an hour with me. You're in San Francisco area. I'm down south near LA. So we're on the same time zone. That's a good thing. So it's not brutally late for you. Are there any, one more thing. Almost forgot. You have a gift to offer as well. And that is, what I would like to do is basically hand it over to you, if you don't mind. And you can describe to people what it is you're giving to them and how do they acquire it. And I'll bring up your website as you do that, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so fun. Thanks so much for having me on. It was a lot of fun chatting with you today. And what I'd like to offer to your listeners is a free consultation. So if you have heard us talking today and thought, I would like a little bit more of that in my life. I'd like to be able to accomplish what I want to and not sacrifice my personal life. If that sounds good to you, if you want to leave work at work, be present at home, if you want to know that you're also spending your time in accordance with your own values, which may be very different from mine, I would like to talk to you and offer you a free consultation. It's about 45 minutes, and it's just a chance for you to get clarity on where you are and to see if there is any way that it would be helpful for us to work together. So everyone, who takes me up on this offer, we don't always end up working together, but I always make sure that you get some value out of the time.
I love it. So that means there's no hard sell. You can tell right away. And so I'm highlighting the button there, schedule a free consultation. And for you to get to this website, simply go to Alexis, that's Alexis, Haselberger, that's HASELBERGER.com. And you can just go to the website, the Mind Body Business Show. You'll see her name there under past shows. You'll see Alexis. Just look for Alexis. Type in her name, alexishaselberger.com, or you can click on the little, looks like a WordPress icon beneath her in that past shows area, and it'll take you straight there, and you get a free consultation. You see it right there. It's flashing again. I don't know how that does that right on cue. That's amazing. And I'm just kidding. I'm playing with my mouse here. And the other thing was, you mentioned maybe a coupon code for something if they do take you up on going forward and working with you?
Yeah, so if any of these listeners here, if we have a consultation call, we decide it's a right fit to work together, and you mentioned the Mind Body Business Show, I'll give you a 10% discount on any of my stuff.
What? So, all right, so 45 minutes of free consultation time that will not end up in a hard sell. You'll know if you're a fit. She'll know if you're a fit, and you'll come to join. And then she's going to say, and when you decide yes, I'll give you another 10% off. So that's amazing. I so appreciate that, Alexis, and I appreciate what you do specifically and especially. One way for people to contact you, if they want to have a chat with you, maybe send you an email to get some upfront information or just to reach out and say hi. Would you say the best way would be go to your website for that?
Yeah, you see that little hamburger icon right up in the top left of
Yes.
my website there? You'll see contact right there, and that will give you every modality to contact me. My phone number, my email address, a form on the website, to subscribe to my newsletter, all those, it's all there.
Perfect. So they have choices. That's nice. Fantastic. Oh, I love it. I love it. And I totally, totally recommend everybody who is stressing out at any point in their life, during their day, working too hard, go for that. Get the 45-minute free consultation, no obligation, not a hard sell, but if you are a fit, definitely consider going forward with her and her services. I have done this with a previous productivity coach, and it was phenomenal. Again, it saved me a ton of, I got more done in less time. I figured there's no way nobody could help me to get more done in less time, because I was one of those guys that was working like a maniac, figuring I can't cram any more into what I got. But it worked. It happens. And that's what Alexis does. And so definitely reach out to her. Do it for yourself, but if that's not enough reason, do it for those closest to you. Because for me, it was phenomenal. It freed up time to be with the one I love the most in this world, and that's my wife and my kids. So phenomenal. That's why this hits me so close and near the heart, Alexis, because of the result I know it gives people. It's not just about being more productive at business. It's about giving you your life back. That at one point we used to have one, especially when we were young kids, right?
Right, when we knew how to play and had the time to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. You know how many times people ask, hey, what do you enjoy doing in your spare time? And I could not answer. I'm like, I don't know. I don't do that anymore. Right. Wow. It made me like, oh, that was like bang. And so think about that. What Alexis does for you is helps you to become more like a kid again and enjoy your time, because you're going to have the time to make that time to enjoy life as if you are a free, emotionally free child with nothing but fun and joy ahead. Oh, man, I'm ready myself. Let's do this. All right. That is it for our show tonight. Thank you once again, Alexis. I so appreciate you. Do you have any final parting comments for our audience?
Jess, thanks so much. And again, if you are interested in making a change so that you can, have a life, right? So that you can do what you want and have a life, I'd love to talk to you. And just as Brian said, there's never a hard sell for me.
Oh, yeah. You can tell she's a gentle person, but the thing is, she knows how to get the job done and get you the results you want and you deserve. So definitely reach out to Alexis. Thanks once again, Alexis, and for all of you watching and listening live and on recording. I appreciate you and the time you've invested in listening here. A ton of value. Hope you took notes. We'll see you again on the next edition of the Mind Body Business Show. Good night for now. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching and listening. This has been the Mind Body Business Show with Brian Kelly.